Hello, Dhamma friends. Let me wish you a very happy and peaceful evening. I'm going to begin this evening Sutta Studies, wishing you happiness and peace. Today I'm joining the discussion from the Mississauga Temple in Toronto, and I know that you are joining with the discussion Sutta study class from your own place, and you are warmly welcome for this episode of Sutta Studies. First and foremost, let's pay our supreme respect to the Buddha, the Tathagata, who taught us the Dhamma. May these venerations to him bring us blessings and more confidence and clarity for us to complete our training on the Noble Eightfold Path. Let me start the chanting Namo Tassa to pay our honor and respect to the Supreme Buddha. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. I pay my homage to the Supreme Blessed One, the Worthy One, the fully enlightened One. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Dear friends in Dhamma, it is always a blessing to have Dhamma friends in discussion in meeting like this, because it gives us encouragement and inspirations to stay in the Dhamma, to practice the Dhamma, to go forward on the noble training. This is a special time period that Kalyana Mittas come together and discuss the Dhamma. Why? We spent the Asala Full Moon Day 2 days ago reflecting the historical, very important happenings in the Buddha's life and also the Buddha's asana. As you all know, Asala Full Moon Day is considered one of the most revered day in our calendar because of the very important things happen at the Isipatana monastery near Banaras 25 centuries ago. As you know, the Buddha became the self-enlightened Buddha on the full moon day at the age of 35 in 6th century BCE, and after spending 49 days near the Bodhi tree, he reflected the entire world to whether to tell this Dhamma to the people or not. This is how it sounds like. Actually, the Buddha became enlightened Buddha to help others, while he was finding that enlightenment for his ending of cycle of samsara. He wanted to help the others to do the same thing. That is why the Buddhas are coming from. Anyhow, since this is the greatest thing happened for a long period of time, while he was questioning whether this Dhamma is deep and appear to be deep, and it is of course deep, should I tell this to others? Because everyone has emerged in sensual pleasures and day-to-day life with sensual pleasures. Then the Mahabrahma, the head of the living beings, I would say, realized the thoughts of the Buddha and appeared in front of the Buddha to invite him to deliver the Dhamma, to disclose the Dhamma to the entire world. These are some of the incidents happened at there. Then, having heard the invitation by Sahampati Mahabrahma, the Buddha look at the world from his knowledge. To whom should I tell this Dhamma? First, he was looking for both teachers, Alar Kalam and Uddakaram Buddha. He realized that both have gone uh, especially the Uddakaramputra Alar Kalama passed away well before he actually uh, finished his this cycle as the Buddha, so that he thought that by every means there are the five people who ready for it, so that he decided to go to where five monks stayed at that moment. It was Isipatana at the near the Baranese city, and Buddha was starting going from Buddha Gaya to Varanasi on the road. Uh, he could have gone through in different ways using his psychic powers, but it is said in Arya Pariyasana and Mahasachaka Sutta that the Buddha started walking. In the middle of the journey, uh, Upaka is the one who actually met the Tathagata and asked some questions, but there was no enough merits in his account to understand the Dhamma and questioned the Buddha for understanding the Dhamma, so that he left and Buddha was going towards Varanasi to do the greatest thing in the world, delivering the Dhamma. It's called Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. I'm giving you some historical importance information about the suttas, where the in which the Buddha delivered the first discourse, and that was happened on the full moon day. And as you know, I don't want to spend time for it. As you know, Buddha delivered the first discourse, and it is a full account of what the Buddha did in terms of attaining enlightenment. It is similar to the attainment to realizing the Four Noble Truth, and it was a discourse that the Buddha proclaimed that he avoided two extreme and practiced middle way, and there he realized the Four Noble Truths in details, so that this is what I did. And then having listened to the complete discourse in the meantime, tena muhuttena kanena, while the discourse was delivering, the mind of Venerable Kondanya softened and inclined into the realization of Sabbanta Nirodha Dhammang. The Paticsampada was seen by Venerable Kondanya in the Four Noble Truths, so that he became the first disciple of the Buddha who got into the first stage of enlightenment. So this happened on the full moon day of Asala, and we celebrated that event and many other events 2 days ago. So that we are in a time period where the Dhamma discussion should happen in such a way to eliminate our mind. So that your participation is really appreciated. And I always like to discuss the Dhamma, those people who have already actually absorbed the meaning of the teaching of the Buddha. I can see that all of you can do it in an extraordinary way, and it is also blessings to me. Instead of taking one discourse for today's discussion, I put a topic for it. It is the application of Vipassana in the present moment. It's a very wide topic, and the content for this topic is widely scattered in the entire Tripitaka, and it is deep as well. So let us limit ourselves to 1 hour or so, and try our best to bring the very important Dhamma inside within this topic. So application of Vipassana, when we hear these Vipassana terms, uh, we are elated, we are delighted, because we have tasted the Dhamma of the Buddha in many ways. And those who have seen the Dhamma into a certain extent know the very important teaching behind this term. Vipassana means, seeing things as they are. In other words, analyzing things not based on a common average way, but it is seeing the unseen things, seeing that normally people do not see, seeing things that normally average people could not understand. So it has a very deep meaning. Let me come to the Pali grammar here a little bit. Passati is the term we use for seeing things from our naked eye. That is a Pali word for passati. When we go out, we see the flowers, we see people, sky, the weather, and many happenings are there in the world, so we see them. So that is called passati. When we add we at the beginning as a prefix, the meaning is going to change completely, and it means that seeing things as they are. If I come to this definition from another direction, usually people see the things from normal average vision, which means we are bound with greed, hatred, and ignorance, so that our vision is always up to that level. uh, Everything is decided by the thought processes we have been in, so that uh, untaught ordinary people, which means who do not know the reality as it is, we definitely come to conclusion that this is it, this is that, and so on. But those who have wisdom as a faculty in mind would analyze the world from different angle. For people who have wisdom always see things as elements, as aggregates, as a combination of various senses and so forth. So that vipassana is always going with wisdom. In other words, vidarshana is a Sanskrit term for this purpose, and it has become a Sinhala and also now English, French, and it is a term for many languages. So vipassana, vidarshana means understanding the irreversible truth of every conditioned things. So that though it is a good term, though it is a very beautiful term for many people, I don't think many people understand the deep meaning of it. So today we are going to discuss this term and also how we see it, and which way we turn our practice into vipassana, and what kind of things the Buddha has said us to follow to see the vipassana in us, and is it only just able for some people, or is it available for all the people? So we can discuss this in details in order to bring a nice idea for our own sake. Application of vipassana, if I go to the history of it from in the entire Nikaya, it started with the first discourse of the Buddha, and it is always delivered by the Buddha to the last moment of his life. Look at the first word of the Buddha as an exclamation, Aneka Jati Sansarang Sandavisang Anibisang. It sounds vipassana. And look at the last word, Amantyami vo Vayadhamma Sankara Apamadena Sampadeta. It is also about vipassana. So vipassana means then the reality of life, all the Dhamma elements direct us to see the vipassana. What is the core vipassana there now? Core vipassana is seeing impermanence uh, and unsatisfactoriness, dukkha, and non-self anatta. In other words, anything you do in terms of practicing vipassana, what you are doing there is understanding things as sankhara, and the nature of sankhara is anicca, dukkha, anatta, impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and non-self. So it is very clear now that vipassana or application of vipassana or the discussion of vipassana started by the Buddha when he actually attained full enlightenment under the Bodhi tree, because as the Bodhisattva he put it into practice and he was able to go through each level of vipassana. That's why he was able to acquire these three knowledges and complete the training on Four Noble Truths. And then he reflected it in different ways during that 49 days. And when he delivered the first Dhamma discourse, it, it is about vipassana. It is about how one can, go through on stages of vipassana. In that sense, friends, the Noble Eightfold Path is not taking us into any other conclusion, but it is taking us to practice vipassana, practice to see something beyond average level, to see something beyond this world. It doesn't mean that any other world, but it is going beyond the existence. So that is called vipassana. Uh, because of the Buddha's compassion and because of his effort to teach us the Dharma, the disciples, immediate disciples, disciples in later period, and we as the disciples of the Buddha today, are absorbing that essence of Dhamma called Vipassana, and we see how Vipassana is eroding or erasing the negative emotion in us, called greed, hatred, and ignorance, tanna, upadana, avidya, and so on. So that this is the direct antidote we all can have and cure our samsaric illness completely. So we have that trust and confidence. Even though we have some sort of practices, we need some sort of practices for a long time to do completion, but we sense that it is taking place. It is always there for us, so that we all know how great this particular teaching. So, application of vipassana, as taught by the Buddha, uh, has many avenues. Though we see the, though we need to see the entirely the impermanent, unsatisfactoriness, and non-self on sankara, there are many avenues to get into. Since the topic is too wide and deep, I would get particular simple teaching. Um, Therefore, we can dive into the pool of vipassana. One of the areas that the Buddha talk about in terms of getting vipassana out is called okkanti, which means jumping into or getting into the Dharma. In one particular section of Samyutta Nikaya, actually it belongs to Kanda Samyutta, where the Buddha talks about the five aggregates and clinging to five aggregates. There we see Buddha's direct message to us about vipassana. As I said, vipassana is nothing but getting into reality directly. No, round shape, no other ways around, but addressing the real issues. So, Kanti Samyutta, where the Buddha talks about the impermanence and so on, that part I take for today's discussion from my end, and I think those meritorious disciples in the discussion can take it well and bring new ideas, bring new dharma into it. So I'm confident that you can bring those things into the discussion. So Kanti Samyutta is a direct piece of advice for Vipassana Bhavana. Uh, Something I need to tell here, we use the Vipassana for any wise things we do in Dhamma. We can use it. Yoniso Manasikara, Sati Sampajanya, and Samadhi. These are some of the terms we use for the purpose of developing Vipassana. And we have the 37 factors of enlightenment. We have, these are some of the things we can use to explain the vipassana in different ways. So, in other words, vipassana could be practiced in any posture, because vipassana is the magga. Vipassana is the direct way to cut the layers of craving into small pieces and remove them. So when we come to Vipassana Bhavana, there is a particular object or meditation with objects. Vipassana Bhavana, with the word Vipassana, a lot of people know that particular meditation that people do in a particular posture. It is also right because in Vipassana Bhavana, we take an object on a particular given time and try our mind to be with that so that we are able to see the three characteristics. So, but when we come to Vipassana in a broader sense, it could be practiced at any given time because it is a total mental investigation. So I would see the connection directly with the Vipassana to Samadhi, Yoniso Manasikara, and Dhammavichaya, and so forth. So Panya Indriya as a faculty and also Panya as a faculty and also force is being taught in 37 factors for enlightenment. So these are some of the direct connotations to Vipassana, but Vipassana is widely scattered more than that. So anyway, back to Okkanti Samyutta. Okkanta means you you get down or you put yourself into it. The very meaning of Okkanti. So in Okkanti Samyutta, I would read. I would say that there are about 10 suttas, and all these 10 suttas are dedicated to explain a very important practice for someone in a common existence to switch his or her situations to a very nice next stage called Sappurisa. So you jump into the Dhamma, and when you engage with the Dhamma practice there, technically, gradually, you change your designations from Putujjana to Arya Savaka, in short, because you are doing some sort of vipassana. Therefore, doing vipassana is not that difficult if you look at the Dharma in Okkanta Samyutta in this way. A lot of people are afraid of this word because people do not understand what vipassana is, what panya, what samatha, what samadhi, and so forth. But if you read this Okkanta Samyutta, I think you will really get it. Without further ado, let me read one passage from first discourse of Okkanta Samyutta. The first discourse is called Chakku Sutta. Title implies that it is about both eyes, and we'll see what the Buddha said here. Chakku bhikkave aniccang viparinami anyata bhavi. Sotang aniccang viparinami anyata bhavi. Ganang aniccang viparinami anyata bhavi. Jivha anicca viparinami anyata bhavi. Kayo anicco viparinami anyata bhavi. Mano anicco viparinami anyata bhavi. So meaning is, monks, Buddha said, monks just reflect that the eyes is impermanent, subject to change. Ears are impermanent and always change, subject to change, and so on. Each sense, um, you know, each sense is impermanent and change to something else. So not only that, we know from other discourses in the section, every sensory objects, every vijnana, and every perception, feeling, and also every contact, then every rupa, then every thoughts about, and tanha, and so on. Everything is impermanent and change into something else. Anichang viparinami anyata bhavi. This is what the Buddha said. It's in these very simple points to jump into the application of vipassana, because everybody understand these senses. I would say everybody can understand easily, because if, the term vipassana here use is with the term of anicca and viparinami anyata bhavi. So when you look at the eyes from deeper point of view, you see they are changing. They are, physical eye is here, and seeing, of course, eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind are called senses, we can take the deep meaning of it: seeing, hearing, tasting, smelling. That function is being talked here. So basically, not only the physical eye, not only the physical ear, but the function of each senses are being discussed here. When we come to function, is called, it include the meeting of the senses by the sensory objects, and vijnana and phasa, they are all being included, because seeing happens with the combination of material and immaterial elements. So seeing, hearing, tasting, smelling, touching, thinking, they are all impermanent and subject to change. When we do this practice over and over, it's going to be practicing vipassana. It's going to be practicing the dharma, to see things as they are. And in order to practice vipassana, you have to have qualification requirements. In many discourses, Buddha show us the way to vipassana, except few individuals who are in the level of Uggaditanya and Vipaticana. Many people in Nyaya Pardaparama, they are unable to get into Vipassana directly. Venerable Kondan, Venerable Sariputta, Venerable Ananda, Moggallana, Mahakasapa, there are other names in the list. They were able to absorb the Dhamma with little help because they were in that category. Uggatitanya, sometime we see Vipaditanya at that time as well. A lot of disciples of the Buddha in the time of the Buddha's era were in that category, but in the later period of the Sasana, where the Buddha struggled to discipline monks and nuns and lay people, there were some Nyaya and Padaparama as well. Anyhow, in the first 20 years of the Buddha's ministry, we see a lot of such people. So, uh, having said this, having said this, when you get into this practice over and over, you have been practicing Sammaditthi, Sammavayama, and Sammasati. Why? Because in order to understand the senses and their function, and to see them as anicca, viparinami, anyata bhavi, you have to have a kind of samadhi. Yoniso manasikara is the way you put vipassana into practice, and samadhi is the term we use for the particular thing we do in vipassana. So without samadhi, without mindful presence of mindfulness, without right effort, it doesn't work well. It's not going to happen. So that, friends, when you say, when you feel, when you sense that everything is impermanent, which means the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind, there you practice the noble qualities. And it could not be done by people who infatuated with greed, hatred, and ignorance, but people who have sensed the Kalyana Mitta, and people who are able to understand the Dharma into a certain extent can have that opportunity. So Vipassana, in terms of talking about Vipassana in Kanti Samyutta, this is the very piece I personally use for my practice, which is easy to do in comparatively. Because taking Panchakanda directly is difficult for many people. In order to understand Panchakanda, you have to dive into various sermons and suttas, but there is no guarantee that some people understand the nature of five aggregates. So it's a gift actually. Only a couple of handful of people see the way the Panchakanda rise and pass away. So that getting into vipassana, even though they think that they are in vipassana, I would say no, because they haven't seen the basics of vipassana in their studies, in their basic training. So that this way of putting the dharma into practice, I think paves the way for them to practice vipassana. So you see the eyes, you know the sense, senses, and you are to know the way the senses take their respective objects. Slowly, mindfully, you can observe this process. So when you go on over and over in this meditation, I would say vipassana meditation, you will see what is happening within you. You see that the first layer of craving is going to weak, and then at some point you see that the mind is away from this first layer of craving called hindrances, and then your mind is in a state of calm and peace, so that you can see the impermanence on very thing you were thinking about, you were observing about. There you take good decisions like, okay, hereafter I do not wish this anymore because it is fragile, it is impermanent, so that your level of calmness is going to be strong. Your calmness is going to be a foundation for something greater, because you are able to keep your calm mind for for investigating the nature of arising and passing. Very nature of anicca means arising, being able to see arising and passing. Udayavaya. This is said in Satipatthana Sutta very clearly. Samudaya Dhamma Anupasava. You are trained to absorb these terms at the very beginning of Satipatthana, because the Buddha knows that these disciples, when they go on and on over the Noble Eightfold Path in the Satipatthana, they have to practice the Udayabbe Jnana, Udayattagamini Panya, so that Samudaya Dhammanupasya, Vaidhammanupasya, these terms were included at the very beginning of Satipatthana practice. So I would say that Satipatthana series is practicing Vipassana. It gives you samatha as well as the results of samatha samadhi, but it is a very direct discourse for Vipassana, because throughout our practice we know that when we do anything in the Kayanupasana, Vedananupasana, Chittanupasana, Dhammanupasana, in our meditation, we feel that something is changing in our mind. Attitudes are being changed, the reactions to various type of sensory experiences change, so that everything is being positive, everything is being calm and peaceful. So that's Satipatthana is another term for Vipassana in my understanding. Anyway, friends, Okkanti Samyutta is now telling that Chakkung Bhikkave Aniccang Viparinami Anyathabhavi and so on. And there, Buddha added later on, Ayang Yo Bhikkave Imedam Evang Saddhati. If anybody, uh, accept this just because the Buddha said, just because the revered Sangha says, just because it is mentioned in the Dhamma, so I accept it. There you have a designation called Sabdanusari. Your spirit to believe, stay in such practice is because of that confirmation. Kalyanamitas who have won your confidence say this is the right Dhamma, including the Buddha on top of it. Say it, so you accept it, and therefore your situation is completely changed from average normal situations to a Saddhanusari, which means you accept it into a certain extent just because the Dhamma says, just because the Buddha said it, and they are kanto sammatanyamang sapurisa booming kanto vitivanto putajjan booming ababbo tankam mankatung yankatva katva nirayangva tirachani yoningva petyusangva. See, if you start the Vipassana from this kind of analysis, you already make sure that you are not going to any unwholesome destination. If you do real Vipassana with the senses and sensory experiences and so on, and find that right tune of wisdom This is not a big level compared to the Sotapanna, Sakadagami, Anagami, Arhat. This is a type of still changeable situation, but the power of it is so much so that you can be away from the possibility of reborning uh, unhappy destination called Peta, existence, and so forth. So, isn't it very nice? Isn't it giving us some sort of encouragement to do more in the Dhamma? Yes, of course, because uh, understanding the Four Noble Truth and practicing the Noble Eightfold Path for understanding the Four Noble Truths are very difficult for many people at once, because we are people uh, in an era where no arhants possibly publicly staying in. We do not see anyone claim, or as it is that I've complete my training to the stage of anagami and so forth. So that we are in an era, a lot of people talk about Saddharma in different ways, so that confusion might come. Such a era we are living in. Such era we are living, so that it's very difficult for us to get into complete training on Four Noble Truths at once, but gradually we can go. So I think I suggest for many people to do this kind of vipassana as a preparation for the final flight, and as a preparation for getting into samadhi, because these are some of the things we all make sure to attain. So the final thing is taking the aggregate into observation and making ourselves sure that we are in the seven factors of enlightenment and other factors in the Dhamma in the 37. So we have to look into those analysis, observation, and also realization. So that is the final thing we need to do. Well, before this, we have to make sure whether we have done the basic things. In the Vipassana, basic things are such that you develop Yoniso Manasikara, you put yourself into right directions, and then do that kind of practices. So that I think this is very important. And if you understand the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind are impermanent and changing other way around with your own experience, your title, your designation is not Saddhanusari. Your designation is called Dhammanusari, because you are accepting it not only because the Buddha said that the Dhamma says and the Sangha followed it, you yourself taste it very much. Having tested yourself on the impermanence on senses and sensory experiences and so on, you come to a conclusion, or really they are changing, they are impermanent, they are changing otherwise, so that now I see it. So they are called Dhammanusari. The very their nature is more wisdom geared than the Saddhanusari. But anyway, friends, both of them stay in one category called the people who are on the path to Sotapanna, because they are in that category. So out of 8 people, these two include into the first category of the 8 noble individual. So it's fine, because they just started the training vipassana, so they have seen some sort of dissolution of some craving, some layers of craving, so that they will experience the other thing. So if you go down to the Ukkhanta Samyutta further, you see every important elements of the process, such as not only eyes and their respective objects, but their vinyana, their rupa, and sampassaja vedana, and rupa sanya, rupa sanchetana, tanha, even patavidhatu, and finally we talk about the skandha, the aggregates also should be reflected and investigated as impermanent and so on. Therefore, Buddha has given gradually that these are the things you take time and observe as impermanent. Now, I think things are very clear that vipassana means seeing things as they are. As they means nothing outside, nothing created by somebody. It is all about ourselves. It is all about something in. If you look at uh, uh, the vipassana and the way to vipassana, first and foremost, the Buddha said that ajattam. So you have to look into your own mind, which connect to the senses. Then only you see what is happening in and with there you discipline. When you see the real happening in your mind, the discipline you get is much more higher than the practicing 5 precepts, practicing 8 precepts, and 10 so on. They are very important to protect us from unwholesome, unskillful activities. But the discipline you get when you see your own mind, how it works, is much more stronger. And that discipline basically called Indriya Samvara. Of course, you restrain from seeing, hearing, tasting, and smelling. And the top part, very important part of Indriya Samvara is not only you stop seeing unwholesome things and so forth, but you make yourself to go forward, and that discipline is much more higher than everything. So then the discipline we get out of this vipassana training at this level take us to experience samadhi. So long you keep this practice in the name of vipassana, the better solid concentration you develop there. So we see that yato yato sammasati kandanang udayavyang labati piti pamujjang amatantang vijanadang. Yato yato sammasati kandanang udayabhyang. If you, the last sutta of the Kanda Samyutta is about 5 aggregates. Seeing the 5 aggregates as impermanent is the key over there. And yato yato sammasati kandanang udayabhyang. If you can understand the rising and passing of skanda as they are kandanang udayabhyang labati piti pamojang, you are going to develop piti bojjanga, passadhi sambojjanga, samadhi sambojjanga, because your mind get disciplined, your mind gets sort of strong, restrained, solid nature, geared by samadhi. So what I want to say is that when you practice vipassana, it also discipline you for the moment. So don't forget that we talk about vipassana, application of vipassana in the present moment, right? Friends, everything happened in the present moment. The future and also the past, these two time periods are not realities. The reality is only the present moment. Anything and everything happen in the present moment. So application of vipassana in this manner is done in this present moment. There you discipline well. First and best and very important layer of success is coming with the discipline. So discipline mind bring you the taste of wisdom, the taste of samadhi, the taste of vimukti, well before vimukti, taste of viraga, taste of nirodha, and there you attain vimukti, which means liberation. So everything happens accordingly if we are able to practice this kind of basic vipassana. So I do not talk about the vipassana jnana today because it's very deep and needs some time to break down them and explain them one by one. So very important thing today that we can do is to dive into various aspects of vipassana. I told you at the very beginning that there may be other ways to explain vipassana. Vipassana, when you practice vipassana, your focus would be the 4 elements. So you see everything as 4 elements, and then your focus would be the skandha as we already mentioned. your focus would be also some sort of Dhamma elements, like suppose you start talking about, you start practicing the let's say 37 seven factors of enlightenment. So any Dhamma in that category you take, you are in the Vipassana train, because when you practice them, what happened to you is breaking down unwholesome layers. Then you can think of a question to ask here, uh, that is samatha technique, uh, is any meditation under the light of samadhi practice can have vipassana essence? Uh, I would say yes, because according to the Buddha's teaching, the samatha technique, samatha practice, and any practice that brings samadhi are always started with samadhi. Without samadhi as the first quality, nothing is explained by the Buddha. Samadhi should be the foremost, very important quality. So, practicing samatha, gaining samadhi is always under the basis of samadhi. Therefore, they are always part of vipassana, because anytime we take samadhi, the duty of samadhi is to prepare our mind for peaceful state. In other words, samadhi's destination is, sorry, samadhi is the destination, and any practice to bring samadhi is called samatha. So that is all what samatha can do. But clearing the what samatha can do with the results of its samadhi is to clear the unhidden, hidden path for vipassana or panya. In other words, suppose our mind is covered by ignorance, fettered by tanha, so bound with upadana, so we cannot see much in terms of wisdom, because our mind is full of ignorance. So what Samath can do there with the help of Kalyana, with the help of Saddhamma, slowly put holes in that thick layer of ignorance and craving and upadana in our mind. There you find the footage of samatha, and slowly will ground and slowly break that thick layer in our mind. So our mind is now inclined into samadhi. It gets samadhi quickly, it gets samatha quickly, it gets jhana quickly. So that this practice help one to enter into into vipassana. Vipassana again is a technique, is a way to bring panya. So when you practice samatha, the results you get, maximum results you get is samadhi, and when you practice vipassana, the results you get is wisdom. So that, friends, the cutting off of craving from our mind, only vipassana is helping us. Samatha also is supporting it, because when you wave your hands, nobody can catch your finger. So when you wave the needle, you cannot put the needle, the thread into needle. So you have to keep it solid and straight, then only somebody can do that. Likewise, when your mind is wandering here and there, when it is agitated, when it is frustrated, when it is not controlled by the wisdom, you cannot do any significant things like this. So that samatha and samadhi are some of the terms we use for ekaggata, the practices for ekaggata. It happens even when you do vipassana, but a lot of people in our era need samatha meditation for some time. Slowly, gradually, they understand the way to vipassana, so that's how we this era we live in. But there are individuals who actually can do vipassana directly, because their faculties are much more advanced. So anyway, these are the basics of vipassana. I would say that there are some other things you can do. If you think vipassana should be practiced, the very first thing is not the way to not those retreats, not those big teachers you find. You have to understand who are you. And Buddha has said in many discourses that start with simple programs like every day morning you think about the Buddha and practice some metta, and then be a helpful mate for your family, and understand your responsibilities and perform them with understanding, with compassion. So you are quite ready for gaining some momentum for vipassana. Because vipassana, people think that we can do vipassana just because we found the best teacher and a retreat center and so on. Friends, you will struggle a lot. I'm not saying that you cannot, but lot of struggle, because you haven't done preliminary work for even getting yourself into samadhi. And vipassana is much more difficult when you don't do any such preliminary practices. So that uh, do whatever you can in your own life, understanding Marana as as a meditation, Marananusmati, and Asubhanusati, and then other Anusati Bhavana are giving you so much solid confidence for you to gain Vipassana experience. So that I can pinpoint a lot of basic application of Vipassana, but it is better for us to limit ourselves into one or two, so that we could work on it to find out whether we are progressing in the vipassana path. So friends, uh, this is what I all want to say today. As I said, we should have some time to discuss the important elements of application of vipassana in the present moment. And I would say that mindfulness is been doing a great job here, and samadhi again, and along with samma vayama, they are the pillars of vipassana. They are the very important faculties of vipassana. So friends, now let's get into discussion about vipassana. I would like to hear your experience, perhaps your knowledge, perhaps what you found out in the name of Vipassana. Please present those ideas.
Bante, can I go first? Because I don't see a hand.
I cannot hear you. I can see that you unmuted, but your voice is not clear.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, yeah. Now I can hear you.
Okay, I don't see a hand thing to put up the hand, so I thought I'll just come in if you don't mind.
Of course, it's perfectly okay.
Okay, so now from what I understand is the samatha, in the sutra, say for example, Yugananda Sutra talks about samatha pubbanga vipassana, vipassana pubbanga samatha or Yugananda. So in other words, samatha is start and end up with vipassana, or some people can start from vipassana, as you said, and and the samatha, or you can practice both at the same time. So I think the common practice is samatha, as you say, because of the most of the sutra talking about anapanasati, Kayanupasana, in the Satipatthana, at the first, breathing. This is all samatha techniques, right? If you cannot get to jhanas, I guess some people can come from the other way by contemplating. So
Yeah,
vipassana is not a meditation; it's more like a contemplation. The asubha, four aggregates, four elements, and so forth. But the insight you get from vipassana alone is not clear. There are which are called upaklesha, vipassana upaklesha, or corruptions of insight. But unless you have jhana, which is the fourth jhana, when you come out of it, the mind is equanimous, complete equanimity, and there is parishuddha, chitta parishuddha, they call it, like a and then when you come out of you vipassana, it's mind is like a clear plate. There's no rubbish in the plate, like the plate is washed. So whatever that falls into your plate, you see right away. Pachuppena ye dhamma tatta tassa vipat. So as things arise, you can do vipassana at that
Yeah,
stage.
yeah, yeah.
And
Actually, I agree with you, and it is agreeable with the Supreme Dharma too. Uh, any phenomena that arise should be focused, right? As you rightly say that vipassana, when you come to vipassana, you can contemplate any phenomena which arises in the present moment, right? That is called vipassana, and there is a particular sitting meditation called vipassana. There you have time and space. Again, whatever arises in mind, you tackle them. You take them and observe. So anytime and every time, what you do in the name of vipassana is contemplating, is trying to put kind of observation with wisdom.
right, understood.
Yeah. So why samatha and why samadhi is important? Because some people do not have that skills to keep their mind to do it.
Hmm.
So because it is like wild dog, it is like wild cat, it's like untamed monkey, because it is going here and there. So that Buddha talk about getting into a kind of training to put it here, so that the things vipassana you should do could be easier.
So
But
is it that sometimes they talk about another sutra talk about pleasant, unpleasant at the beginning and pleasant at the end? So pleasant at the beginning meaning more samatha, right? You are like enjoying your
yeah,
bliss,
yeah, yeah.
and it's
That,
a
that's
vipassana
right.
coming like unpleasant at the beginning is like
So
impurities and the
Sukha Patipada,
yeah,
Sukha
yeah,
Patipada Kippa Binya, Sukha Patipada Danda Binya. So when you practice jhana,
yeah,
it's Sukha
pleasant,
Patipada, because you put your mind into a very serene, peaceful nature. It's
mm,
like you want to see something happening in the city, so now you are in the ground, you don't see many things over there, but you get into that 20-story building on top level, so now you can see the whole city and all the fireworks and things like that.
yeah, yeah,
So getting into the 20th story of the building is like you are putting your mind into serene nature. There you can see the things as they are on the ground.
mm,
So when you get into jhana, your mind is has that experience, so that it is calm. So now your work is being easily done.
yeah. Because the dry vipassana is a technique which is Burmese, but is never mentioned in the sutra text. So
Yeah, yeah.
vipassana, I think vipassana pubhaga samatha, I think that's trying to contemplate on the impurities, aggregates, and so forth.
I
And
think the social context is also very important, because when the Buddha is there, if not the Buddha is there, when the Arahants, designated Arahants, Anagami, Sotapanna, very scholarly, very dedicated, well disciplined monks and lay people are there, you are bound to do it, and you explore. You have already explored the knowledge. The knowledge about the different techniques are in the tradition, but now
yes,
what happened is there are a handful of people who know all of this
yeah,
practically.
Yeah, it's a style.
We
yeah,
have a lot of scholars,
yeah.
but when we ask the question how we are going to do this,
Yeah.
no answers.
Yeah, because even Buddha, at one point, I think some one monk went and asked one person, "How did you get enlightened?" He said, "Oh, I did the four elements." Other one said, "Oh, rising and passing away, and Paticampada, and six elements." So six senses, whatever. So it's not. So it's like the I think Kim Sukha Sutra about the riddle tree. So the same tree see at different seasons in a different way that the blossoms are red or the leaves are gone. So
Yeah,
the same, so with the same insight, people can come in many different ways. But
that's true.
at the end, it's the same insight, right? So
It's at the end, it's the way how you look at things.
exactly.
Your way of looking at things could be changed based on how what kind of wisdom, what kind of layers of wisdom you have.
Yes.
So at the end, Shraddha, Virya, Samadhi, Panya, how you have this faculties already developed decide where you go and what levels you are analyzing. So that's why the Buddha asks us to take certain practices at a time and do your business there.
Mhm.
So that's why some disciples take long years,
Yeah.
to come to maturity of the Dharma, because
Mm.
they had not done anything in the past, so that the time they spend for basic vipassana might be too long.
Tula. So I
Yeah.
think the past karma, past paramis, I mean, the practices, I guess, definitely help you, right? We don't know though. We have to start from
Yes,
somewhere.
yes.
We have
Yeah.
no way of knowing.
That's true, and the effort we are taking in this life, for a moment we'll come to assumption. Suppose we could not attain to any stage of enlightenment in this life, I would say that whatever we are doing now will be helpful for
Yeah,
for us to attain enlightenment in next life or after
life
next life,
after. Yeah.
because we are putting ourselves into the right practice.
Yeah, yeah. It was just clearly said. I think even if you die unmindfully, you will hear the Dhamma. Somebody friend will come and tell you you'll be born in a Brahma realm. There somebody is. So even if you don't, if you die, even unmindfully, you will still hear Dhamma if you practice
Yeah,
the
yeah,
right way. Bhante, one thing I touch on Saddhanusari and Dhammanusari. So the Saddhanusari has the faith. These things happen this way: the I consciousness, and the arising and passing away. So he has a faith, but he has no uh, knowledge yet. But the
yeah,
Dhammanusari has a little bit of knowledge of wisdom. So he knows a bit, but that's the other end. But
yeah,
the
yeah.
Sotapanna has the he sees and knows and sees both. He
That's
knows
right. That's
and
right.
sees.
That's
So
right.
these things happen. This is so that's the difference between the three. But
Yeah,
both are
yeah.
precursors. Pre
Very,
Sotapanna. In other words, Sotapanna Marga, right? Both
that's right.
Sadvansari,
That's right.
Dhammansari, and
Uh,
they are bound to be stream entry entrance at the time of death. They are just guaranteed, right? That's what
yeah,
the
guaranteed, guaranteed.
sutra
Yeah,
says.
very true. Because we find two terms the Buddha used for introducing us the very wise people, Janatu and Pasatu.
Hmm.
So we should be able to have both in terms of making any shift to enlightened state. So when we come to Saddhanusari and Dhammanusari, I think this is not mentioned anywhere. This is my own point of view. I think difference between Saddhanusari and Dhammanusari. Saddhanusari, just as you said, he has a kind of glance. He has glanced it well, but he has not understood it from his own experience.
Mm-hmm.
Because Panyaya Nijjanato Kamandit, when you come to Dhammansari, that person has seen the, let's say, senses or sensory experiences from his own way, from his own experience. But the Saddhanusari has not that kind of solid experience of his own. Perhaps he or she has accepted it just because he see it happens to other people. Bahid, you have external observation always. So you see that people die, you see people do a lot of bad things, and from these experiences, you come to an understanding that this is not what we need to do, and the Buddha has said this, Dhamma is telling this to us, so I'm following. So you haven't thought about your own way of deterioration in seeing, hearing, tasting, smelling, but you accept it in a certain way so that you are also solid
Yes.
on your belief, but you haven't done it from your own seeing, hearing. But when you come to suppose that that particular person put some effort to observe his own mind, own senses, though that now he is confirming himself or herself that okay, these are impermanent, these are, now I know it from my own experience, and so on, then his nature could be changed into Dhammanusari state.
But Bhante, there is a sutra SN 25. If you can look it up to SN 2503, it says they define clearly what is Saddhanusari and Dhammanusari. So
Yeah.
Saddhanusari is one who has conviction and belief that these phenomena are this way, is called the faith follower. Then the Dhammanusari is discernment, the one who has pondering with modicum of discernment, has accepted these phenomena this way, is called the Dhamma follower.
Mm.
The last one is one who knows and sees that these phenomena are this way, is called a stream wanderer. It's interesting, right? How they
Interesting, interesting. Yes, actually, the Dhammanusari. Some weight has always been given to Dhammanusari.
yeah.
Always.
You have a
It
question?
is, suppose two people are standing one after the other. Suppose the first one is Dhammanusari. He's the one who knocking the door off.
Yeah, yeah.
So once he entered into, the next chance is for Saddam, something like that.
I see.
These are our own way of
Interpretation.
experiencing. Please be advised that they are not in discourse. But anyway, that's how I actually feel now. That
Thank you.
Dhammanusari is getting into the Sotapanna state quicker than Saddhanusari.
Understand. You have a question, right?
I don't agree to that, Bhante. Sorry, but
Okay.
no, because
Yeah, of course, yes, because these are our own point of view.
yes, no, I'm just saying from my point of view, I feel Saddhanusari are more people. They have so much faith in Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. So they follow the path and they do it themselves. They sit, they meditate. I think they are more into samatha kind of people. I think the Dhammanusari people, they have a lot of knowledge and they have read, they know Dhamma, but they are more into contemplation. And so it is not that one enters before the other or the other enters before. I think they both have the same potential to enter where they want, depending on their own practice.
Yeah, we do not deny that because
Yeah.
it is also very accepted, very clear with the Dhamma because you pointed out it in a nice way that those who are called Saddhanusari might stay in Samatha a longer period or shorter period. Their tendency to do more based on that, which is right.
Yeah.
And those who have read, those who have
Analytical type.
discussed and analyzed Dhamma
Yeah.
could always be in that particular state called Dhammanusari because they are catching the Dhamma with some analysis, with
Yeah.
some wisdom geared way of
True.
things. So that yeah, sometime yes, as you said, sometime those people who Dhammaram or Dhammarato, those who are more in towards reading, analyzing, and doing things might delay certain experiences whereas Saddhanusari
Yeah.
might get into the realization. But this is the thing: none of the titles are permanent,
Yeah.
No, that's
right?
for sure.
It's
That's
fluid.
So you
It's,
could be you could be Saddhanusari, maybe 1 or 2 day, maybe you attain full Sotapanna or any other stage of enlightenment. You are today Dhammanusari, who knows whether you understand Dhamma in the next second,
yeah. Yeah.
So these are titles given to a particular people who have been in that particular mindset. That mindset is still is Sankata
Yeah.
because the noble eightfold path is Sankata. It
Yeah.
is taking us to Asankata, but
Yeah.
the very path is still
Yeah.
Sankata.
It's constructed, which is going to unconstructed, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Bante, yeah, I think you explained it very clearly.
Just one more thing, Bante. I also feel now, see, in I think they decided, I can't remember exactly in Burma, they thought that samatha would be very difficult for people. It takes
jhana.
a lot of practice to get into jhana. So, because actually you have to get into fourth jhana and to come to that equanimous state, then to contemplate. So he thought, Buddhism might vanish because, at
Colonial
that
Burma.
colonial Burma. So he thought it would be good to start this Vipassana kind of
Yeah,
movement.
Vipassana movement started there. I think there's Upachara. They used something from Buddha Gosha, like a tiny form of jhana. It's not. It's called Vipassana jhana. Sometimes some people call it. It's to enter Vipassana right away rather than going into jhana proper. So
Yeah.
that's where the change. I think there's a Birth of Insight is a book written by. So it explains that in that paper.
I agree with that. Their work for the Theravada Sasana is phenomenal and should be appreciated by each generation because uh, unless they did it at that time, we might be taking some sort of vipassana with a lot of mistakes
Mm.
because in the Tripitaka where the suttas are mentioned, vipassana is explained mixed with everything. But they started a tradition called vipassana, but of course they have understood the text well and they form it well to be able to give it to the world, right? Unless they did it at that time, actually, I think there would be a vacuum in the sasana. So
So it's a good thing they did in a way. I think they
yeah,
but
so
sometimes I think the very quick, like they want Vipassana people or the Vipassana centers started booming all over the
right,
America, and then say, oh, Vipassana is the way. Some of the
yeah.
just forget about some of the forget about
They,
John.
they, the Vipassana actually, their focus is Vipassana based on feeling, Vedana,
Yeah.
based on certain very important elements of the Dharma.
Yeah.
So it means that other people also can explore Vipassana from various ways, right? So
Yeah.
what they was doing is the way they know Vipassana, they practice into full, so they share it with others so that there is a they open a new approach to vipassana. And I think during the time of the Buddha and in later period where the sasana was shining, I think monks from different monasteries practice different vipassana.
Yeah. So
that's why
Vipassana.
that's why very important thing we need to understand,
Yeah.
whatever the way vipassana is being practiced at the end,
Yeah.
the focal point should be the aggregates,
Yeah.
and seeing impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and non-self should be always
Anicca,
there.
Dukkha, Anatma, yeah.
So core is always explained.
Yeah. Anicca, Dukkha, yeah. And
Yeah.
then, so
So I think
Vipassana,
we should give credit to Burmese monks
of
always
course.
for doing that for us. In Sri Lanka, if we talk about where we are from, the Aranya tradition should be highlighted with respect and venerations because hiddenly, unknowingly by the world, they have been practicing both aspects.
Hmm.
But unfortunately, they were not having any program to give it to the world.
I see.
Like in Thailand. In Thailand, they do.
So if you consider, the Sayadaw tradition and those great monks are very, very important, and we should pay our respect. At the same time, Sri Lanka produced very great bhikkhus and lay people, and they did not come out because of lack of kind of traditions to give this. That's why all the scholarly book are coming from
Even Thailand, they use.
either from Sri Lankan or the foreigners who went to Sri Lanka.
Yeah. In Thai
Like
tradition, it's the same, right?
like
Yes.
German monks and monks from the other
Yeah.
tradition went to Sri Lanka to study Dhamma philosophically.
Yeah.
And what they were doing is, while Thailand and Burma opened up their tradition for the world to practice samatha and vipassana in extensively, the Sri Lankan tradition was able to build scholars at the same time, those monks and lay people who practice both aspects, but they were not coming to the world like Burma and Thailand did.
Sadhu, I'm sure the other people are waiting. I'm sorry we took that long time.
Uh, we'll see whether others contribute or not. I know that all of them, they are very good Dhamma practitioners. Perhaps they might be considering the time. It's almost 9:50. I think uh, they would ask questions later on so that we would end today's Sutta Studies. The today's topic was the application of Vipassana in the present moment. We took some time to describe how the Buddha explained Vipassana without using that word in Samyutta Nikaya, and Vipassana is being explained into a certain extent, and we have to discuss more on Vipassana depending on the time. Uh, we'll do it in the future session. Right now, I'm going to end today's session by sharing merits with you, merits with all the spiritual beings, and any person you want to share these merits, especially those who are sick. Just send these radiance of loving kindness to them for their well-being and happiness. Finally, may we all be able to make sure that we are part of the Sangha who actually inheritance of the Buddha Sasana, who actually absorb this eternal peaceful Dhamma. May you all be in Nirvana. Sadhu,
Sadhu, sadhu,
sadhu,
sadhu.
sadhu.